What is it that initially attracted you to the role?
Well, the first thing that caught my eye was that it's inspired by true events. That is always personally for me as an actor, that's kind of like, my bread and butter. That's the dream, anything that is slightly even related to a biopic where I can sink my teeth into like doing justice to something that might have actually happened. And then I read the script and that was I was like, oh my gosh, this is insane. Like it was just pure drama, and I would say that I'm drawn to the genre of drama, and it felt like something different after Monet, that I could play around with. Yeah, and then I met the team and they just solidified my excitement. I was like, okay, this would be so much fun to do.
Because when I do see that a film or a show is inspired by true events, I always like to ask you about it. Did that change your approach to the project at all? Did you do like a lot of research? Did you talk to anyone like that you could get knowledge from? Anything like that?
Absolutely. I think it definitely influenced the way that I approached the project, just because it is, it's a heavy movie, and its subject is one that deserves care and caution. And I just really wanted to do the character and the project in general justice, and try to relay the message as accurately as it was written on the page. But yeah, definitely. I spent a lot of time speaking with the director, Aspar, and executive producers at Swirl Films, about how, like how we can make it as real as possible while still, entertaining. I didn't want it to become not cheesy, for lack of better words, but like I didn't want it to become so playful that it was lost on the audience that we're actually saying something, and we actually want to leave the audience with what I think is a very important message. So yeah, I think it did influence the way I approached things.
Yeah, and I do want to again bounce off of that because I always am about the messaging in a project. I always end up taking something away, whether it's something I relate to with the character or the storyline. I'm curious for you, what did you take away, or what is it that you hope audiences take away?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for me, obviously the obvious answer is, don't drink and drive. Thanks. Great. Just don't do that. Cool. That's the general easy message to get from the movie. But for me personally, there's a scene at the end of the movie that I guess I can't go into detail about, but where the girl that I'm playing, she's 17. I think for the first time she kind of realizes that, you know, people can make mistakes without having bad intentions behind them and without malintent, and that still means that the consequences of those actions will have to be paid or acknowledged. Yeah, what I took away from it was kind of how it's a struggle sometimes as you're growing up to realize, like, well, why do I have to say sorry if I didn't mean to do it? Something, like that. And yeah, I think it's also kind of a coming of age film, at least for her. There's a lot of sub messaging with her character where you kind of see her handling a lot of heavy things, and how that will influence how she handles life going forward. So that was interesting to me, because now that I'm almost 23, playing a 17-year-old who's learning things that I, thank God, have learned in the past couple of years. It was interesting to like reflect personally in that way.
Watching it, everything seems so life and death when you're a teenager, right? That's such a
Yeah.
bottom line thing, is everything seems so life or death. And that definitely applies to Kim perfectly. If you
Mhm.
could personally tell your teenage self one thing or one piece of advice that you've learned now, what would it be?
Oh my goodness, that's a great question. This interview is coming at a time where I'm in a very deep state of reflection. So I've been thinking about stuff like that a lot, actually. If I could tell my teenage self one thing now, I would probably tell her to I'd probably say it's not that serious.
Right?
Yeah, it's not that serious. I've been trying to use that as a practice in my day-to-day life recently, or when I get frustrated or I get anxious or overwhelmed, or when something, unfortunate happens, I tell myself literally out loud, I'm not insane, a little bit, but just putting it out there, it kind of helps. I think people should try it. Like literally the other day I was doing something and it wasn't working. And I was like, oh, this is so annoying. It's not that serious. And it calmed me down. But yeah, going off your point, I definitely think, at least for me when I was a teenager, everything was like end all or be all. And now as I'm growing up, I'm realizing that that's not true. I still struggle with it, but yeah, I'd probably tell her to chill.
I think I'm gonna be using that advice. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Do it.
Like, come on. I mean, listen,
Helps.
life is twists and turns. You gotta just go one day at a time, right? That's how.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have to say, I got to watch the film, and the party sequence in particular was very extremely hard to watch it for me.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine filming that. Can you talk to me about it? What if you drew inspiration from anywhere, what your mindset was, anything like that that you could tell me?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a tough day. One, it was a night shoot, so it was late and we were very tired. Um, and there was a lot of people. I think for me, that was the first scene that I filmed, maybe the only scene. Well, no, but the first scene that I had filmed that was more than like five extras on set. So it was a lot going on. It was pretty early on in the filming process. And I do cry a lot in this film. That is something that was interesting. I was very dehydrated. But yeah, that scene took a lot of searching to find that real guttural feeling for Kim. I definitely I wanted in that scene for people to remember that she's 17. Um, and sometimes, when you're playing how a kid would react to something, it's hard to like remember, oh, how would I have reacted to this or gone about this when I was 17, because I'm not 17, so I don't think that way anymore. So yeah, there was a lot of prep for that scene with me and Russ beforehand. And then yeah, the bedroom scene was hard. But I was blessed with just an amazing team, an amazing crew, and my cast member was just so respectful, and they really made it a priority to make me feel safe and comfortable. I did take a lot of breaks, but yeah, I wanted to do that scene justice probably more than any other scene in the film. It was difficult, but I'm glad that everyone was very, very respectful, and we all had the same goal in just making sure that it was portrayed correctly, and safety on set was the priority. So yeah.
That's really the reason I wanted to ask you about it, because as hard as it is to speak about, I think bringing light to those very real issues, especially that teens face, and let's face it, all of us can face, it is
Yeah.
important on screen. And I think it was really important to add to it. And I'm really glad you guys were able to portray it the way it needed to be portrayed.
Yeah. Thank you. Me too. I'm happy.
Of course. And the aftermath of the event, the aftermath of the accident, without spoiling too much, that was also a really heavy thing to see, see with
Yeah.
her life and see her deal with it, see what happened. What was that like for you?
Yeah, that was it was tough too, because it was hard for me to kind of stay in Kim for a lot of the time, because I was constantly just feeling bad for her. Um and I felt like mirror thing where I was like, okay, I have to do this, but like I feel like can she figure something else out? Like, um, but yeah, that's kind of what goes back to like what I was saying before, where the repercussions of your actions have to be acknowledged, even when there was no intention or malintent, or and then to have, I've never personally dealt with something that heavy in terms of reaping what I sow personally. But so it was really hard to figure out how that would feel, and the weight of all of what she had to deal with, um, like how that felt for a 17-year-old. So yeah, there was a lot of kind of soul searching, I guess, in someone else's soul that doesn't exist. But yeah, it was, I didn't want to make her childish. I wanted to maintain her maturity. I do think that Kim is very smart. I do think she's cerebral and mature, but I also wanted the audience to feel her feeling like, she is a kid that shouldn't be dealing with stuff like this because she's 17. So how that balance was something that Russ and I talked a lot about, and I'm happy with the way it came out. But the aftermath definitely was the most difficult portion of the film in terms of balance and in her personality.
Going off of that, I want to ask you about doing that balance. Did you enjoy like extending yourself in that range as an actress? You said you like the drama genre, and you obviously did such a good job with Monet and like playing that fun stuff. But you also did such a good job with this, really, like you said, crying all the time and dealing with the heavier emotions and topics. What was that like? Did you want to do more of that going forward?
Oh, first, thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, yeah. This film was very exciting for me to do off the heels of Gossip Girl because I didn't okay. One thing is I didn't realize that Monet is like technically a comedic character until someone like said it to me at the end of season 2. And I was like, oh, wait, you're right. Like, I don't know. I was just taking it so seriously. And someone was like, no, it's so funny. And I was like, really? So I guess I was doing comedy. I don't know. But yeah,
Listen, good mix, drama, comedy. How could you go wrong? Like,
no, yeah, we love a dramedy. They definitely got the buttons right with her. But yeah, no, I was so excited to do something extremely naturalistic and dramatic. That's kind of my cup of tea. And I hadn't had a chance quite yet to sink my teeth into something like that before. And yeah, I would definitely love to do more of it. Absolutely. It was hard. It was a challenge for me. But that challenge reminded me that the reason I love what I do is because I love to be challenged. Um, so it was really fun all the way around, even though I was crying like every day on set. It was fun, which is weird, but yeah.
because you get to go to a place that like you get to go to a different place, and the range
Mhm.
has to be so much fun. It's fun to watch you in so many different roles, and obviously now you have a whole fan base behind you who are so excited to see you in new projects. What is that like to have that support and getting ready to share a film or any project with your group of fans?
It's really exciting. It feels like when you're little and you draw something in school and you just can't wait to show your mom. Like it feels like, I just like, can you just look at this, like, please, I want you, because I think I did really good. It's really exciting. It's nerve-wracking. But I think that when someone's nervous just means you care. Um, and yeah, that's how it feels. It feels, it's weird sometimes because, I think everyone, but especially artists and then especially actors, are extremely hard on themselves. And I am extremely hard on myself. So sometimes I see responses and I'm like, huh, okay, thank you. Like, thanks. And then other times I'm like, hey, I did that. Like, I think I did kind of good. You see? So, it's like a whole, who knows how I'm gonna take it sometimes, but it's always exciting. And I'm forever surprised and grateful for how much support I've gotten and I continue to receive. I could have never imagined it like 4 years ago. So it's incredible and it still surprises me. And I'm grateful. It makes me want to do better.
Yeah. You mentioned how much you love true events, projects that tackle true events. I'm hoping you get to do more of that going forward. is there a story that you've personally seen or heard of that you would like to see the media shine a spotlight on with the project?
Absolutely. Yeah, I have a couple of ideas, a couple of scripts actually that I'm working on myself,
Wow.
which
Oh
is
my
really
God.
exciting. Yeah, both of them are the stories of two women, two Black women in the music industry, and I was listening to them the other day, and I remembered that I had started this before the last season of Gossip Girl. And I think that I'm really excited. It's in the works. And both of these women deserve biopics. They'll be separate things. But yeah, I mean, there's a ton of people that I would love to play in a biopic, tons of stories. Something I'm really excited to see actually is Kemba, which is in the works right now. It's a true story about a Black woman who, kind of like got caught up in the justice system and unfairly. That's something I would love to do, something very serious like that. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just drawn to true events because I work well under pressure, and that's the most intimidating form of film for me. So I want to do it. It's weird. But yeah, I'm working on it.
I can't wait. I'll be supporting. I'm very excited to
Yeah.
hear that, of course. And I also, want to give you a lighthearted question. I'm sure as heavy as this was to do the scenes and do the stories, I'm sure there had to be some really fun moments on the set. Do you have a favorite filming memory or just a memory with the cast or creatives that you look back on fondly and remember?
Yeah, there was so many fun moments. I mean, everyone was just so like comfortable with each other. And then that immediately makes, the newcomer or someone who hasn't worked with these people before feel very comfortable. Um, a favorite moment on set, let me think of something. Oh, so the first scene that I filmed, I think it was my first day on set, is when I'm going to the Mad office, and I'm like a new woman, and I'm like, I want to work here, I want to help, and I want to take responsibility for my actions and stuff. And it was the first, all I had to do was walk through a door. All I had to do was walk through a door. Literally sounds very easy and simple, should be. And I think Russian action. And I pulled the door when I should have pushed it. So I was like, sorry, let me do it again. And then I
We
went
don't do
back.
that. Come on.
Then I did the same thing again. And I was like, I'm so sorry. So the third time I got it. But that was funny because it kind of broke the ice at an unfortunate time for me, since it was literally the first time I was filming ever on that production. But yeah, that was fun seeing everyone's like reaction to me like not doing my job well. Made me feel comfortable because everyone was just laughing and like, you're good, and I was like dying inside. But yeah, that was fun.
How many times does that happen to everyone on a regular basis? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
gotta, gotta make everyone laugh. You did it on purpose to break the ice and make everyone laugh.
Exactly. That's actually what it was a play.
It was
Yeah,
you were showing your acting skills.
exactly. No, so you get it.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
you. I gotcha. Events like this and stories like this are not always so black and white. I mean, obviously, Kim got in the car, she made that decision, but also Dan's parents allowed the party and the alcohol. And so there's two sides that really combined to make this tragic outcome. And I'm
Mhm.
curious for you, do you enjoy highlighting those conversations of like, okay, it might seem this simple, but let's kind of lay everything out to give that to audiences and remind them like people are human beings,
Mhm.
should really hear the whole full story first, because as someone who watches the news, I feel like that's such a big important part
Yeah.
of understanding any situation.
Yeah, definitely. I love highlighting um, complexities. I think that what makes films interesting, at least for me, most of the time, is when they're complex. And when after you watch a movie, you have a friend over here saying it was their fault, or well, think of this, da da da, and the other friend over here is saying the opposite, and it what we want to do, as actors and filmmakers and people in this industry is start a conversation. We want you to talk about the movie, and so I think that highlighting complexities in life situations like this is the perfect way to get a conversation started. And I definitely think for me personally, it's one of the more important parts of, I think, like my perspective on life, that not everything is black and white. I think it's really important to remember. And this film does a really good job of reminding people of that. Yeah, you need all sides of the story. And I think it's also important that people can, form their own opinions. You just need all of the information. That's another thing this film kind of talks about. So yeah, because I didn't even know. Like, I was literally playing Kim, and I was like, it kind of made it really difficult to play how she felt. And ultimately I decided to play that struggle. I decided to just play it. Like, I don't know, like I don't know. She doesn't know if it's her. She feels like it's her fault, but then she also kind of knows it's not, like, and I thought originally I had to decide. And then in working with Russ and reading the scenes over and over, I realized that no, if it feels natural to be conflicted, then I'll play the confliction. So I hope it came through. And yeah, that's one of the things, if not the one thing, that I love the most about this film.
It did come across, because I felt it as an audience member. I think it's really going to start conversations. And, I can't thank you enough for your time again and this wonderful conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too. It was nice to speak to you again.
Nice
I hope
you
you have a
again.
good night.
Yes, definitely. And we'll speak again soon.
Professional artists and professors, maybe a nerd who's just like you, talking about the things that you like too. So I invite you to the NOC. In full color, you see me, the Hard Knock